Good morning, class. I was in the middle of reading the Lorax, so let me finish reading the Lorax to you. As you remember, the Lorax had just called all of his uncles and aunts and told them to come. "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Be quiet, if you please." I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, "Listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken and sharp right at South Stitch." So the Lorax, remember, makes thneeds. As you remember back here, he chopped down a truffula tree and he makes these things called thneeds. And he sells them, and he thinks he's going to get rich selling them. And he makes them out of these truffula trees, so imagine what he's going to do to the truffula trees. You see right here, you can already see what's happening here. This is a factory. We just talked about this in science the other day, and in one of my reading groups, we talked about a factory. It says, "In no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees." And then here's the Lorax. Remember, the Lorax says that he speaks for the trees. "Then, oh baby oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before. And that Lorax, well, he didn't show up anymore." And here's the Onceler. Notice you never see the Onceler's face. You only ever see his hands. And if you ever watch the cartoon, there's a cartoon of this, if you ever find it on YouTube or watch it in another place sometime, you never see the Onceler. You only see his hands. And then there's the Lorax. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies." "They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. Poor barbaloots. I want you to notice the sky. You notice the sky on this page? Look at the sky on this page. And look at what's happening here. And look what's happening here. And here. And here. And here. And here. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering and selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a crofulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here. I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup and also sloppity-slop. What do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. This is the byproduct of the factory. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hum. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary, in search of some water that isn't so smeary. This book is about the effects of industrialization, business and factories on our environment, which is where we live. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. Turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree, and we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. When we use something in our environment, we need to replace it. The Lorax is trying to speak for the trees, because now look, the trees are all gone. If we use something up, it will be gone unless we replace it. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. And now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. Here's the Lorax. And here's the Onceler. And there's all the aunts and uncles and family driving away. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad, backward glance as he lifted himself up by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place, through a hole in the smog, without leaving a trace. So the Lorax lifted himself away. As you remember in the story, he said he would tell us about the lifted Lorax. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. Unless. That was a long time ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. The Lorax is talking to the boy. Remember, the boy came in the beginning of the story, and the Lorax made him pay. So, I mean, the Onceler made him pay so he could hear the story of the Lorax. And here's the boy, and the Onceler's up there in his store, telling the story of the Lorax. He says nothing's going to get better unless someone cares a whole awful lot. So, catch! What's he throwing? Catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And that is the end of the story of the Lorax.